All right. Hello, hello, everyone. So glad to be here for another Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. We have Mr. Jalen Christie joining us again. Hey, Jalen.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. So glad that you are joining us once again. So before we get started, if you are tuning in, please go ahead and invite your friends to the Facebook group. Go ahead and tag those that need to be on this conversation. We're going to be talking about continuing this month's conversation on community building and its connection to public relations. So go ahead, invite your friends. If you're catching us on replay, give us a hashtag replay in the chat box. And while we wait for others to join, let us know that you are here. I know our Florida fam, let us know that you are safe. We are, prayers out to you all. I'm still kind of watching the news and catching up on everything. And man, and I know we have quite a few people throughout Florida. So please, our prayers are with you. If you're tuning in, let us know that you are okay. And we're going to get started very, very shortly. So this month, sponsor, special thank you to Prosper and Partners, a global personnel and organizational consulting firm that seeks to develop innovative solutions to complex problems, for sponsoring this month's Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. Go ahead and learn more about Prosper and Partner by checking out their Facebook page, and I will go ahead and drop that in the chat box. All right, if you're here, once again, let us know that you are here. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So Jalen, I'm so excited to have you on once again. So this month we have been talking about community building. Last week we talked about the 12 sectors of community change with Joe. And for those tuning in, those sectors, as a reminder, was youth, substance abuse organizations, state, local, tribal governments, healthcare professionals, religious fraternal organizations, civic volunteer organizations, law enforcement, youth serving organizations, schools, businesses, parents, and guess what else? Media. So this is perfect timing that we have Jalen on to talk about the aspect of media, public relations when it comes to community building and how organizations can use that as a way to get the word out to the community. So Jalen, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Awesome. I'm happy to be here. Always a pleasure to speak with you, my friend. As you know,
Yes,
you and I, we go way back. So always a pleasure.
we do.
Yeah, so as Lashina indicated, my background is communications. My background is also public relations as well, and a little bit of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Interesting that you mentioned fraternal organizations too when it comes to community service. So I am a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the oldest and coldest fraternity in the nation. So yeah, I'm here to help, here to answer any questions.
Awesome.
So, as Lashina indicated, the media can definitely help moving forward. And there are several outlets, specifically here in Orlando. Shout out to those in Florida braving the hurricane. There's a hurricane going on right now. That's why my background is dark, because there is a storm raging outside my window. But yes, so when it comes to getting the word out there, when it comes to teaming up with, different organizations or different influencers or different movers and shakers that can promote your organization or your brand, partnering with the media can sometimes be the best way to go. And when multiple people think about the media, typically what we think about is television stations, or we think about newspapers or magazines. But there is such a thing as non-traditional media, such as bloggers and podcasts. And bloggers and podcasters have been on the rise in the last few years. There are legitimate podcasters with a decent amount of subscribers and followers that may have specifications or a focus in a singular area, such as a nonprofit or such as an organization that is, trying to do good. Conversely, there are bloggers as well that focus on these very same things. So whenever you're having an event or an initiative, it would be good to reach out to some of these bloggers to ask them to attend, to invite them to attend, see if they would be interested in blogging about it. Maybe doing a photo essay or something of the sort to get the word out about at what it is that you're doing, or to find podcasters, identify what it is that they speak about on their podcast, and then pitch them rather,
Mhm.
in an effort to be interviewed and featured.
Love it. So, okay, you mentioned some of those non-traditional. So there's bloggers podcasting, and I know the last time you were on, if you all missed that show, make sure you go ahead and go to the guide section so you can catch that one. Because we really talked about the news in media component and how to tap into that. What about so bloggers, podcasters? Also, there's like radio station. What's some other
Absolutely.
means, and how can organizations tap into that to help get the word out about what's going on?
Sure, sure. So most times these days, the television station is usually partnered with a radio station. That's
Okay.
how it works in some markets.
Okay.
So some people think that, if I'm not on television, then my message is not getting out. That is not true. All right.
Mm-hmm.
In most areas, a radio station encompasses many of the local markets or the different districts in a certain area. So I know that here in Orlando, if I use West 2 News, for example, I think West 2 News covers 8 different counties, if I'm not mistaken, 7 or 8 different counties.
Mm-hmm.
There's a radio station here that may very well cover those same counties. Conversely, some of these radio stations use some of their programs and convert them into podcasts, which they then upload, to like Apple Music or Spotify
Mm-hmm.
or what have you, so people can continue to listen that way. But I think it starts with knowing what it is that you want to speak about, why your organization or your initiative is newsworthy, and then
Mm-hmm.
identifying the right blogger or the right podcast or the right radio station show for you to be featured on. Monica May comes to mind right now. She is on Star 94.5, which is a
Mm-hmm.
radio station that's based here in Orlando, but it's heard
Mm-hmm.
in multiple counties, multiple markets. Monica has a show that airs on Sunday mornings, and it's a talk
Mm-hmm.
show, like a news
Mm-hmm.
radio show, where she interviews different organizations, different movers and shakers, different community influencers, and speaks to them about their initiatives, what they have coming up, what their plans are, why it's relevant to the community. She would be the perfect person to pitch in an effort to to get your word out. But there are other radio show hosts just like her.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing. Matthew Petty comes to mind. Matthew Petty used to be the host of Intersection with WMFE Radio. He
Mm-hmm.
has since moved on to Tampa, so he's now in the
Mm-hmm.
Tampa market. He has his own radio show in Tampa. Matthew does news radio.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially doing the same thing that Monica is doing. Um, he's interviewing movers and shakers. He's interviewing community organizers. He's interviewing individuals that are active, within the city, that are, pushing for positive change, and doing things of that nature. So he would be a great person to interview as well. But I think it all starts with doing research, which is what I always tell people. When it comes to public relations, because my background is public relations, I am a public relations practitioner. There are 4 components to PR. It's research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. So you don't want to just, we have this term that we use in PR where we say you throw spaghetti at the wall and pray that something sticks. That's not a
Mm-hmm.
good strategy. That strategy is not effective. That is not what you want to do. Don't do that, people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Start with your research first. Start your research
Mm-hmm.
first. Research the radio stations. It's as simple as that. Look at the different radio stations and then say, okay, all right, do they have a talk show component? And if they don't have a talk show component, does the DJ of the radio station give shout outs? Because some
Mm-hmm.
of these stations, while they may not have a show specifically designed to interview movers and shakers or nonprofits,
Mm-hmm.
if you let the DJ know, or you call in, or you email a DJ and say, hey, my nonprofit has this event coming up, or my nonprofit is trying to raise funds to deal with this certain issue, you might be able to entice that DJ to at least mention your nonprofit or give you a shout out on the airwaves, like before the commercial break starts. They may say, you know, shout out to this individual who's the CEO of this nonprofit, who's doing X, Y, and Z. This is what you should know about, and you can go from there. I apologize if you all heard. That was a heavy windstorm that just came. I'm not sure if you all heard that.
Yes.
But I hope I've been effective so far.
Yes. No, I love it. So research, plan, implement, and evaluate.
That's
and
right.
you were talking, so the like reaching out to DJs and shout outs. And what so when do you think is a good time? Do you think that a nonprofit needs to have a certain program, initiative, or call to action happening? Or is this like a year-round kind of effort? Do you think it needs to be for radio? Is that the same like news? You think it needs to be tied to a certain like initiative? Or
I say as long as it's something that's newsworthy. So I always tell my clients to latch on to trends. And what I mean by that is, I mean, obviously with the holiday season coming up, with Christmas coming up, we already know that a lot of reporters are going to be looking for stories that, you know, concern Christmas or the holidays. So if your nonprofit is raising funds for disadvantaged children for Christmas or, you know, for another holiday, then that's your story, that's your hook, because you're going to have reporters that are looking to interview nonprofits or individuals specifically as related to that. Another trend is going to be, you know, the new year coming up. A lot of reporters in January, late December are going to be looking for stories that deals specifically with New Year's resolutions and things of that nature. So always think in terms of that. If your nonprofit is doing something big, or you have an initiative, yes, push that. If you're looking for a story to do on your nonprofit overall, I don't know, you know, because nonprofits these days are a dime a dozen. So you have to ask yourself, what is it about your nonprofit that stands out? What is it about your nonprofit that differentiates yourself from your competitors, so to speak? Why would the community care about what it is that you're doing? So you have to ask yourself those questions before you reach out. And if you're able to make it newsworthy or latch onto a trend or a hook, then my advice would be to proceed to the radio station or the news station or the blogger, the podcaster, or the magazine.
Okay. So it sounds like as part of that planning phase, how far in advance would you say that an organization needs to plan? Like, should they plan like if you like, I'm assuming like a 12-month calendar where you kind of know for the entire year, this is happening, this will, you know.
That's right. That's absolutely right, Lashina. Every organization is different. I know that some organizations, they will plan their entire year out. There's nothing wrong with that. There are some organizations that do it quarterly. Every organization is different. But I think you definitely need to know where it is that you're going first. You don't want to guess as you go. I always advise my clients to have a strategy and then implement that strategy. And as you're implementing it, if for whatever reason you feel the strategy is not working, you can always tweak it as you move forward. So that is the evaluation portion in RPI. So research, planning, implementation, evaluation. So the E, RPI is evaluation. So at the end of your strategy, at the end of you executing it, you can look back and say, oh, this worked. Okay, so I don't need to make any changes. Or I need to tweak this a little bit moving forward. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Love it. And then, so really quick, I'm just going to back up. So I know we kind of covered most of the areas in our pie. So for that research phase, where would you recommend that an organization looks for these bloggers, these podcasters, these radio shows? Like, where would they start?
Ooh, now that is a good question, Lashina. So most public relations practitioners use a software that's called Cision or Agility. I use Cision, which gives me access to the email addresses of different reporters, producers, and things of that nature. However, I have access to that because I work in PR for a company that specializes in communications. However, I got my start in the nonprofit world. So I worked for the Salvation Army of Orlando 10 years ago.
Yes.
I met my friend Lashina.
Yes.
And when I worked for the Salvation Army, there was no budget, which means we didn't have access to software like that, which means that I had to do research the old-fashioned way. So it was Google. It was going to the different websites of different radio stations, going to the websites of different news stations, and then combing through their staff list, and finding out who was the right person for me to send this email to. I
Mm-hmm.
know last year there's a radio station in Daytona Beach. I can't remember the name of it, but I was trying to get my client handles this client in particular handled restaurants and food services and things of that nature. And they wanted to be featured in Daytona because they had a partnership with an organization that was in Daytona. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously it made sense to target Daytona media. So I'm not familiar with Daytona media. I don't live in Daytona. So I had to do research. Like
Mm-hmm.
fashion way, literally Google Daytona news stations, Daytona radio stations. Sometimes Wikipedia can help too. Whenever you
Mm-hmm.
search Wikipedia, sometimes there's a section on the Wikipedia page of a certain city that indicates all of the media outlets. Uh,
Okay.
and then I found the radio station, went to the radio station, and then had to comb through the website to find the news director. I
Mm-hmm.
believe his name was Sean, I think. I emailed Sean. Sean was so nice. He emailed me back and was like, "Yes, I would like to interview your client because this is newsworthy," and that's how I did it. So never underestimate, doing things the old-fashioned way. Sometimes those methods are tried and true.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true. And I love it. I love it. And one of the things is I know there's someone listening right now saying, I don't have time for that. Like I am the executive director. I'm, like we're wearing multiple hats. Some organizations, it's only one or two staff. And I just want to remind them, one, interns can be key. And then
Preach,
right, you can use
preach.
interns.
Hmm.
And then another part is we're talking about community building. Doesn't mean your organization has to do it alone. Because if you're working with another organization that has alignment on the events that you're working with, they may have a PR person or someone or they might have a list already to make it easier where you all can kind of work together and collaborate on reaching out to these outlets.
Exactly. That's right. That's right.
Yes,
Internship, interns, 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 interns.
yes,
Interns
yes.
are your best friends. All right. Like
Yep,
I am an advocate for interns. If you are too busy, bring in an intern. This is a wonderful learning opportunity for them because you can teach
yep,
them a few things, and conversely, they may be able to teach you a few things as well. So I'm
yes.
all for interns.
Yeah, and Jalen connected us with our local university's internship program in the area of ad and PR. And every year we are getting students, and it has been absolutely fabulous. So you do not have to do this alone. So
Mm-mm.
I just know there's someone listening like, I ain't got time for that. But it's that important though. If you don't want to be the best kept secret as a nonprofit. You want to get the word out about what
Yeah.
you're doing. So you're gonna have to make time. And on top of it, your potential donors and those your various stakeholders are listening. So you need to be able to tap into the areas that they're listening to. I remember one year we did a toy drive, not thinking of it. We put it into the I think that year we did the Orlando Sentinel, and we went on a radio show that year. And then the end of the year, it was literally December 31st, we get a PayPal like alert for $1,000 that came in. And the person, come to find out, they didn't want to, like, no recognition, they didn't want any of that, but come to find out, they heard about us through the radio. Was that person heard about us through the radio, and another person who came and volunteered and adopted students with their families and purchased toys, they came through with another big donation through the newspaper. And we weren't thinking, we're just thinking, let's just put it out there, we'll just see what happens. But people are watching, and they literally told me, that person is still involved to this day, and told me they picked up the newspaper and was reading it. And it's so true, because even now she's a volunteer, and she'll come with the newspaper and be like, I heard about this, you guys need to tap into that. Like, she picked up. So yeah, so those outlets are still being used.
Mhm. Amen. Amen. Yep.
Yes.
Tried and true. Tried and true. Don't underestimate the outlets that are in your area. By all
Yep.
means, if you come up with a strategy, go for all of them. The worst they can
Yep.
tell you is no. And in the event that they do tell you no, then your follow-up question should be, well, what are the kinds of stories that you are interested in? All
Love
right.
it.
You tell me, what are you looking for? What is the radio station looking for? What kind of stories resonate with your listeners? What kind of
I
stories
love
resonate
that.
with your viewers or your readers? And then some of them will tell you. Some of them will tell you straight up, this is the kind of story that I'm looking for. Okay, you may not have that story to offer them at the moment, but down
Mm-hmm.
the line, your organization may do an initiative that falls within what they're looking for, what falls within that criteria. So it's always good to build those relationships.
Yep. And include that in your plan. Like if it's not now, add that to your plan for later of how you can approach them. I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Jalen, since it is, and we talked about podcasters and bloggers, and I'm glad that you are on with me and you are going to be the first as I make this announcement to our group. So today is International Podcast Day, if you guys did not know. Yeah. Yep, I bet you all didn't know that. So today is International Podcast Day, and you know, being in this group has its benefits. So you all are the first that's going to hear about this. So we are so excited to announce that Nonprofit Enthusiast is now found on Apple and Spotify. We are now podcasting our lives. So of course, those people will get, like those who tune in to the lives, to the podcast, and Apple will get it after. You'll still get the lives first here in the group, and then they'll be going out into our podcast world, you all. Yeah, so go ahead and follow us. If you're Apple, go to Apple, click follow. Spotify, go ahead and click follow. So that way, whenever we upload, tell your friends, everybody, you all are hearing it first. Happy International Podcast Day, and we're so excited to be able to continue to share the different resources available to nonprofits. So we're excited about that. And Jayla, I'm glad you're here to be with me for this announcement.
Of course, yes. Podcasters are a growing medium. Most people listen to podcasters, whether they're working out in the morning or they're in the gym, or sometimes if they're in the shower or if they're on their work, resonate. So that's, yes, by all means, listen to Lasheena's podcast, and then B, do some research on some podcasts to see, if there are ones that would feature your nonprofit or your organization. You would be surprised. Last year, I did PR for a foundation company, a company that really repairs foundations in homes. That is what they do. All right.
Wow.
They wanted to be featured on podcasts. That was their media strategy. I was able to get them on 3 different podcasts that focus specifically on foundational repair and home repair. So there are podcasts that talk about, nonprofits and organizations. All you have to do is do your research. And
there
then
you go.
Only other thing I wanted to add really quick is with bloggers. Bloggers love events. They love events. So if your nonprofit is having a gala or an extravaganza or a carnival or a fair, or what have you, invite the bloggers, especially bloggers that are lifestyle bloggers, or bloggers that cover, happenings within the city. All right. So you may have to do some research, but if you invite those bloggers, most bloggers, if you're not paying them, they do want to be compensated in some way, shape, or form. And what I mean by that is, if you're serving food at the carnival, don't charge them for the food. let them eat for free. All right.
Right.
And that will entice them, to want to come out, interview you, or get some photos and put it on their blog. So just
love it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. So Jalen, one of the things when closing out, and I'm sure you know this from our last show, we like to give homework. So I think our homework is very clear, as you talked about: research, plan, implement, and evaluate. So for you all tuning in, that's it right there. Just take a look at your current strategies for community building using public relations, and research, plan, implement, and evaluate. So I think that's it.
That's right. Absolutely. You said it in a nutshell. That's it.
Yep. Awesome. Anything else, Jalen, before we head out?
The only other thing that I will say is, I know that when it comes to things like this, it can seem scary, it can seem daunting, it can seem exhausting. It's really not as hard as you think. All you have to do is just put forth just a little bit of effort. So just dedicate an hour or two, in your day, or you say, okay, I need to put together my 2023 strategy. Take 2 hours on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and, do some research and write it down and implement it. It's really not as hard as you think. It just takes just a little bit of work.
Love it. Yep. So just do it. Right? Just do it. And you know what? That's so true, because sometimes some things do not take that long. We just make it take a little bit longer. And especially today, you already did the hard part. You tuned in. We already kind of told you, here it is. Jalen shared, okay, research, plan, implement, evaluate. He said, that's your strategy. That's what you're going to do. So now that you just got to dedicate that time, say, hey, I'm going to take an hour, 2 hour to this, and put it into action.
Preach. That's it.
Love it.
All you have to do.
All right. So thank you so much, Jalen, for joining us once again. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our Florida fam. We'll continue to keep you all in prayers and hope that you all are safe. And we are going to sign off, y'all. All right. See you later. Bye.